Hi there, thank you for joining me to chat about this latest episode of Seeking Sister Wife, Season 5, Episode 2. This episode started out with a continuation of the conversations with Danielle and Garrick. Danielle speaking to her sister-in-law, Samantha, and Garrick speaking to Sam. So, in the conversation between Garrick and Sam, he was just telling him, like, I feel like you're taking this too fast. And he asked if Nathalia works. And Garrick was like, oh, she just finished law school. And Sam was like, but does she work? He's like, well, she's looking for work right now. And he asked, do you know that to be true? He's like, well, I didn't ask. Dude, you just said that she was looking for work. So he's just making up stuff. It seems to me that to make it not look so bad, because I feel like in his heart, he knows it's too soon and they're voicing the same concern, but to allay their fears, he's kind of, adding on stuff to make it not look so bad. He feels like they're rushing, and he mentions, that insanity is kind of doing the same thing, expecting a different result or something to that effect. And they're doing pretty much the same thing. They're dating abroad from Brazil again, somebody that they barely know. We find out that in the conversation with Danielle and Sam, that she barely speaks any English. So here we go again. And, Sam was saying, what if she just wants money or whatever? He claimed that she hasn't asked him for any money. And so they're going to meet in Mexico. So Sam had asked, so who's paying for this? He's like, they are. But he's like, dude, you're spending money. So he's just like, I don't know why he is in such a big rush. And both of them are still talking about this whole thing that happens with the Roberta. They're clearly not really over this. So I don't know why he's pushing so much to get with somebody else so soon. And Danielle says, she is really still heartbroken. And in the conversation with her sister-in-law, she asks, are you really ready to do this again so soon? She's like, well, not, I would prefer to have more time or something to that effect. So it seems as though, Garrick is the one who's pushing to be doing this stuff again. And she has reservations and she tries not to say no. But she's like, what if this? What if that? What if I like her and you, what if you like her and I don't? What if this? What if that? But he keeps he keeps pushing forward with this. And, when she was talking to the sister-in-law, she was like, something about being ready to propose. And he was like, is he ready to propose? Is Garrick ready to propose? And she revealed to the sister-in-law that he already made a ring. And she was just like, oh my goodness. She just had to laugh because it's like, you guys are doing the same thing again. You rushed into stuff with Roberta. Now you rush into this with this girl again. And I feel it just almost gives like rebound energy. And it's probably not going to end well. So, in the confessional, I don't know why they're always bringing God into this stuff that they do, but he is saying, oh, well, they had prayed about it and asked God if they're, if they should add a wife to the family. And he claims that they were in the garage and both of them were praying and there was a gust of wind or some presence that he felt in the garage. It could just be a gust of wind and not God telling you to add another wife, sir. And so Danielle was just sitting there, squinting her eyes and not saying anything. And it looks to me, what I'm captioning this as, like, dude, you're just making crap up. I don't believe that this whole thing happened, but this is the way he's trying to justify rushing into this thing with Nathalia and adding another wife. What is the rush to get another wife? I don't understand it. And what is the benefit to Danielle except her wanting him to have another wife? How does this benefit her? And then also, aren't they still legally divorced? So now after they had the conversation separately, they're coming together to talk about the concerns. And of course, Garrick is pushing forward. He doesn't care. She's saying, maybe we shouldn't rush to propose. Maybe we should take a little bit more time. We can meet and see, what we think of her before proposing. And he's saying that he's telling her, like, we have things to talk about. But then after that, in his confessional, he says that he's planning on proposing when they go to Mexico. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So later on in the episode, they head to Mexico. They're bringing their sons along because they're saying that they want to do some activities and see how Nathalia gets along with the children. And after they say that, they go on to reveal how the children were torn up about, what went down with Roberta because they got along so well. And then now they're wondering, if it'll happen again because she left. Now, wouldn't it make sense to not do that same thing again and not involve them this early in the process until you've really gotten to know this person? Nope, they're doing the same thing again. They're dragging the kids along to Mexico, and they haven't themselves met this woman yet. I just don't get it. So anyway, the lady Nathalia is supposed to be coming to meet them in Mexico with her mom, and the producers got a call from their room at 4:45 in the morning. So when they got there, apparently Nathalia couldn't get on the plane because what they're explaining is that she needs some special visa to go from Brazil to Mexico. So they're going back and forth in the translation app. And then Garrett goes on to say how she couldn't get on the website or something like that. And the producer said, well, two of them were able to get on the government website, not long before that. So how is she saying that she couldn't get into the website? So now they're wondering what's really going on. And they talked to her on the phone again. And she said that she would call them back in 20 minutes. Garrick is really torn up about this whole thing. He looks as though he has been crying. Like something is really not right with this man. He is just pushing this too hard. Like, what is the matter? It's almost as if, are you like hungry for sex or something? I don't know. There just seems to be, it's just not rational what he's doing. I just don't understand why he would be so rushing to get into this when they're both still really torn up about what happened with Roberta. So Shane and Ashley are headed to the restaurant to meet with Grace. So I guess she's agreed to meet him, although I never really heard her say she didn't want to meet him. This was all coming from Ashley, but let me know if I missed it. It seemed like this is something that she was saying to explain why she was not allowing Shane to meet Grace. But anyway, it started out pleasantly enough. But Shane was very, very nervous. There were a lot of awkward pauses, and he was using a lot of hand gestures. So you could tell he was nervous. And he did say to her, like, I'm very nervous or whatever. So he kind of in a roundabout way asked why she didn't want to meet him, and said that she felt like she was trying to steal Grace away from him. And she was like, no, not at all. But she didn't really answer the question per se. And he went on to ask, why they weren't a little bit more touchy-feely, I guess. But he was using a lot of hand gestures before he even came out with the word. Like he was kind of uncomfortable getting to the point of what his question was. And so she turned to Ashley and says, you tell me. And she was like, well, that's your question. But did she really answer the question? I don't think she did. She just laughed it off. But Shane said that she felt like, they had been dating for months. So he would have expected them to be closer or whatever. And it was kind of like just having lunch with a friend. They were just, But she said that she was a little bit nervous having him there. She didn't really know how to act around Ashley. So anyway, things kind of took a little bit of a turn when she asked, because initially he had asked, tell me a little bit about yourself, What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? But she decided to tell him about her job. Maybe it's promotion on the show or something. But she says she is a coach in the personal development field. And the way she explains it is that she helps spiritual entrepreneurs learn to cultivate peace and remove belief systems that are holding them back. what is a spiritual entrepreneur? And why couldn't she just say that she helps people, remove spiritual belief systems that are holding them back? Why entrepreneur? Because I didn't hear her explain how what she does relates to business. Like, I don't understand the whole concept. I understand the personal development part, but why spiritual entrepreneur? I didn't get it. So he was like, what? She says, I'm a very spiritual person. So he says, so do you help them, find spirituality or something to that effect? And he was like, no. She says she communicates with the universe, and it's called channeling. And then he chuckled, and he said, that's interesting. It almost comes off that he was laughing, but it was more like a nervous chuckle. But you could tell that he was like, what is this BS? This is the impression that I was getting, like, this is some mumbo jumbo stuff, but okay. But he said, like, he admitted to her that he doesn't really believe in that stuff. And maybe it's because he doesn't understand it. That's why. But she felt like in her confessional that she was being judged by him. And so that's when she got kind of snippy. He asked more about, well, he had asked more about, does she help, a little bit more about her business. Does she help them understand a higher power? And he asked, like, have you been to a therapist before? And he says, no. And he was like, well, it shows. So basically what I was getting, and this is what Shane was gathering too, because her bringing up therapy in the conversation about what she does, to me, it was coming off as she was likening what she does to what a therapist does. And so he was like, what? Shane thinks she's a little bit full of herself for that reason. Because why bring up therapy in this conversation about the personal development thing? So she never really explained what her job is, how this thing works, because I guess she felt offended and things kind of shut down. So then Ashley had made a comment about, the way they were talking, their food's going to get cold. And she was like, well, my salad's already cold, basically saying that they've been chatting forever. But it was more of, it was almost like a little shadiness going back and forth. You could sense the tension, basically, between them for some reason. She was not coming off very warm in the exchange, and it could be because of the chuckle that came from him when she started saying what she did, although she didn't really explain it, so I have no idea what it is she does other than it's personal development related. So she likewise asked him to tell her about himself, and he asked why he chose the lifestyle. Why did he decide, like, this is the life I want to live? And he says he wants to make Ashley happy, and whoever she chooses, they need to be able to get along. So basically, there's not really a good reason for the lifestyle other than because Ashley wanted somebody else. So after that, she said, well, she had to go, and she's like, it's about that time. So after she left, she said she felt like, Ashley could have interjected more. She says they had talked about her spirituality and that Ashley was spiritual, supposedly, but she didn't say anything. Ashley didn't really say anything much other than when Shane had asked about why they weren't more touchy-feely. But other than that, she was pretty much silent during the whole thing. And Grace was like, I really wonder if they're really on the same page, as much on the same page as they really think they are. After Grace left, they stayed at the restaurant. And Shane said that he didn't really like this whole thing. He didn't really see her being giddy. They were just there like two friends having lunch, which, I mean, I can understand that there's somebody else there. It's awkward. They're not going to be lovey-dovey in front of him. The meeting didn't really go that well. He feels like she's full of herself, with bringing up therapy. And he goes on to mention that Ashley went to school for years to be a psychiatrist. And he says that he now claims that he doesn't think that she's trying to steal Ashley away. I don't know if I believe that. But things were so tense between them. He's like, yeah, I'm not liking this at all. He said, Ashley says that she really needs time to think about things more with Grace. But Shane says it's a no for him. And he is shocked that Ashley is still, considering things with Grace. So she says she needs to think about things. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happening with these two. We didn't really see a whole lot between Grace and Ashley as far as what they've talked about. We only saw that one little trip or date that they had bowling, and I didn't really hear any extensive conversation. So I don't know what is happening between these two. I don't know. It's just a weird dynamic, especially in the restaurant. It was just a weird meeting. It was just weird. With the Davies, we see Nick at home with Vera, and he is dressed in some business casual outfit. He had on a shirt, tie, dress pants. I was like, why is he dressed up? He doesn't have a job. And he was like, oh, well, I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I take it very seriously, so I have to dress the part. I just rolled my eyes, really? So anyway, he was there in the opening scene. He was feeding Vera. She's in her little high chair. She was eating some snacks or something. And then Jennifer got home, and she asked how the day went. He said they went to the park, but we didn't see that part. We just saw the little snippet before she arrived home. And she asked if he had spoken to Danielle. And he says she's still concerned about them expanding the family. And he's saying right now they're all feeling a bit uneasy. Jennifer says that she's concerned because they're planning to add another sister wife. They want to expand their family until they're good and ready, basically. And Jennifer doesn't think that, them adding a wife so soon should be a concern for Danielle, because she knew that coming in that they were going to add additional wives. That's what she's saying. Nick says he hopes that with the right person, that maybe they can put the fears that Danielle has to rest. And Jennifer questions whether Danielle is cut out for the lifestyle. So Nick asks, do you really feel like we're, moving too quickly, And she said no. And Nick says, he feels like Danielle needs to really figure out how she wants to live her life, if this is a life for her. Later on in the episode, we're told that Nick received a phone call. No, the producers got a phone call from Nick. And apparently, Danielle has moved out. Danielle. I don't know why I'm saying Daniel. Danielle has moved out. So Nick says he was in bed with Vera, and he heard some commotion downstairs. When he came downstairs, he noticed some of the plants are missing. And he asked, like, where are your plants? And so she revealed to him that she got her own apartment and she's moving out. So Danielle was like, I've had enough. I'm out. I've heard enough. I've told you guys a bunch of times. I'm not ready for another sister wife. I'm not ready for you guys to add more people. I got to get to know somebody else. I'm not with it. And they keep pushing the deal. So she's like, peace out. So good for her. Nick says that he told her that she needs to do whatever she feels is best for her, but he feels like the rug was pulled out from under him, and he wonders if there's anything that he did wrong. And he says, she's not sure. She says she's not sure of, what she wants to do with herself. April is wondering if the reason that she left is because she wants to have a monogamous relationship. But Nick says, he didn't really press her for any details. She was actively moving out, and within a space of an hour, she was gone. So all three of them claimed they were in disbelief, and they don't understand why. Really? Maybe because they were so busy trying to force this idea of adding another sister wife that they weren't listening to her, because she has says multiple times, I feel like you guys, this is moving too quickly. I'm not ready. You know, I just had the baby. I don't want to get to know somebody else right now so soon. So as they were discussing this and wondering about this, wondering about that, April got a text message from Danielle wishing them the best and telling them that she will miss them and she loves them. And April wants Danielle to know that she could come back at any time. And Nick says, he will reach out to her. Jennifer says she doesn't understand why she left without discussing it with them first. Well, because she can. She's a grown adult. She doesn't need your permission to leave. And I feel like she had already discussed it. While she hasn't said, like, I'm moving out today, you guys knew that she didn't want to add another sister wife. So this is not suiting her. She's not comfortable with it. So she's like, I'm out. So good for her. So we see a continuation of the dinner at Naeem and Naila's house. They're still having this conversation with the mom, Jamila. She says the sister wife thing is not for her. She's not really as open-minded, I guess, as they were expecting her to be. Naeem says that there's more love to go around, and mom tells him he needs to get a cat or a dog. And he was like, this is what I'm talking about. You're so close-minded. And, he seems a bit annoyed with her because she's not jumping up and down and saying yay, I guess. I mean, she's an older woman. I guess that's kind of, some older folks tend to, be having their beliefs, and it's hard to change. And they may not be, readily open to different things. So I don't know why he's getting annoyed with her, but he claims that he doesn't really care what people thinks about what he's doing, and he says he doesn't care what she thinks. He's just letting her know so she doesn't come over and see somebody strange at the house. But he's getting real annoyed that she doesn't, like the idea. You don't seem to not care to me. But anyway, he goes on to tell Jamila that the potential sister wife is from Georgia, and mom asked how she looks, and Naeem just shrugged, and they didn't really give a description. And then she asked how they met her, and Naila said that they met her online. She says that she knew her a few months before she brought her up to Naeem. And mom goes on to ask about the living situation. Is she going to have separate quarters? Naeem says no, they're going to all live together in the same house like a family. And at that point, she says, you know what? I don't want to hear anything more. She's just looking at them and just shaking her head in disbelief. It seems to me that there was maybe nothing in their lives or their beliefs or in any conversations in the past that would lead her to believe that they would be interested in something like this. So she's just in kind of shock. It seems to me that this whole polygamy thing is coming out of, nowhere for her. And so this is how the episode closed out, with this conversation at the table. So let me know your thoughts on the episode. What do you think about Danielle taking up her stuff and disappearing? It wasn't in the middle of the night, but she left when all the wives were at work. And I feel like she did that probably because she knew they would try to talk her into staying, because you could tell from the conversation, they're like, why did she do that? And why did she want to leave? And why this and why that? And maybe she just didn't want to be bothered to be hearing them asking and grilling her about why this and why that. But let me know your thoughts on the episode. Like, comment, and subscribe.